Hello everyone and welcome to Shannonville Motorsport Park for the first round of the 2019 Mopar Canadian National Superbike Championships. Presented by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. Brought to you in part by Mopar Express Lane, Dunlop, and Liqui-Moly.
Strong Superbike field is lined up, Frank, and we've had pretty much mediocre weather so far this spring, but today, much better conditions, which of course is great for the racers. Tires come up to temperature, all those good things, but still a little bit of risk in the sky.
We're blessed with good weather. And these grandstands, you'll get a view of them from one of our camera shots, I'm sure, but we have a very healthy representation of Mopar CSBK fans for this opening round of the 2019 season. And Colin, I honestly cannot remember being so excited going into a season with the changes that we've seen in the off-season.
It has been an interesting year, and yesterday we saw the first step of all of that. Two of our potential frontrunners had a bad time yesterday morning. Both Jordan Zoke and Samuel Trepanier had pretty major incidents, and that pushed both of them back down a little bit in Superpole. But the man who's been setting the pace throughout this weekend in every session, regardless of condition, is Ben Young. So he is our favorite going into this race. Now we're into row 3. Trevor Daly joining Fast Company Suzuki. Steve Nickerson showing well on his Honda. Trepanier, who's injured. We look at row 2. Michael Leon back from racing in the States. Tremblay showing oh so well on that Kawasaki. And Thomas Kazaz in his debut on the big Yamaha R1. And Tremblay and Kazaz 600 stars, and we're expecting a lot from their Superbike early efforts.
There's our front row there. And Colin, let's talk just briefly about Jeff Williams. What a surprise. That man has got a burr under his saddle this weekend.
Oh, great story. Jeff Williams, I think it's about 20 years since he won a Superbike Feature National, and he is a regular at the front for a long time. Went off to work in the family business and now is back for the last few years racing his BMW and always showing well. Shannonville is his home track. He's based in Kingston. Yesterday, he darn near put it on pole.
The field under starters orders right now. We will look to the West City Power Sports Honda starting lights to launch this national championship race. CSBK officials taking their spots at the side of the track. Of course, they will be watching for any possible jump starts. Fred Benjamin now moving off the racetrack. Now the lights are going on. They are fully on now. They're off and the field is away and running. Ben Young getting a very good launch there.
Pole position, Young makes the move, and Riedman is right there with him. So the race we're expecting has already evolved, and we're on board with Williams, who got a pretty good start. So third from second on the grid, but actually Zoke is now by Jeff Williams, and wow, look at Tommy Kazaz.
Yeah, right in behind. In front of Williams right now. Williams had a very good start. As you mentioned, he was third going into turn number 1. He leads off right behind Jordan Zoke right now, with Tommy Kazaz in behind going to school on that veteran, if you will.
Good look at Ben Young's very fast BMW, the bike that set the pace, throughout this weekend. And there you have Riedman right in his wheel tracks as they come off the back straight for the first time.
I love that shot. Jordan Zoke running in third spot, and what a tough guy he is. Often you hear the phrase tougher than a $2 steak, and Zoke is definitely in that category this weekend. He's had a nasty crash, and he's not 100%. He's on the B motorcycle, and he's doing a great job.
We had a good look at Kazaz from Jeff Williams there, and Kazaz in fourth in his Superbike debut is an incredible effort aboard that Yamaha R1.
Well, there again, another rider that had a very good run in the Motion Pro Superpole effort, got into the Superpole for the very first time on the R1. Oh, look at that as Young starts to back it in a little bit. They're getting the back end weaving on that BMW. Meanwhile, obviously, Kenny Riedman keeping even pace with him, and Zoke just sitting back watching the youngsters in action.
And I got to mention that we're missing somebody. Trevor Daly was 6th or 7th on the start for the first few turns, but he is gone. He was somewhere near Kazaz. So Daly no longer in the running, and this was his debut with the Fast Company Suzuki. We're all looking forward to a strong effort.
Huge disappointment. To tell you who else is missing is Sebastian Tremblay. I know he had trouble on the grid, or on the hot grid, I should say, Colin. They were frantically working on that motorcycle, and it's obviously he did not make the start.
Let's have a look at what's going on. Young, who's been the pace setter, Riedman, who won our last race at Motorsport at the end of last season, Zoke, who's coming off a big crash yesterday, and and Thomas Kazaz, who has never run at the front of a Superbike race, never raced a 1,000cc motorcycle. So you could argue right now the story is Thomas Kazaz.
Indeed, and there's so much more to be learned running with these 4 guys as opposed to being mired back in, for instance, 7th or 8th spot and having to try to work your way back up. He got a very good start. He's tagged in behind these fast 4 guys, and definitely he's going to learn very quickly.
And we're on board with Zoke on his Kawasaki, his debut, his return to Kawasaki, and he's right with Riedman. Both those Kawasaki's definitely pushing Young, and Young, you can see changing his lines up there, maybe trying to break the draft, and now he drifts back to the braking zone all the way to the left, and they come off the back straight again, and really, Young may have picked up a gajillionth of a second there, but it isn't much. Yeah, okay, there you can. It's enough that you can tell. And again, you could see him sliding coming out of the S's.
Right on. As usual, coming into Allen's corner, you see that back wheel starting to get a little bit of air underneath it as they get hard onto the front brakes. Peel off into the final corner here and onto the front straightaway, breaking the beam, and Ben Young leads yet another lap. He got fast qualifier in the Motion Pro Super Bowl, so he scored major points from that, and is scoring points with each lap that he leads thus far in this race.
On board with Riedman, good look at Ben Young, and you can see Riedman starting to shop a bit, considering where the pass could happen. It's very early, and everybody wants to make sure their tires are up to temperature, and I guess at this point it's worth mentioning, Zoke, no time really on the Kawasaki, on his backup bike after that big crash yesterday morning, done some damage to his arm, obviously not in perfect condition, but the fact he's running a solid third with the leaders and they're starting to break away. I think it's Kazas and I think Michael Leon and Jeff Williams are the next group of 3 who are just starting to drop off from the lead 3, and these 6 are way ahead of everybody else.
I don't know if you noticed Kenny Riedman's back wheel jumping up there and squirming quite a bit too on the exit of Allen's. He's really putting that to new profile, new compound, Dunlop slick through its paces right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure who's in 7th. It might be Trepanier, but 8th, I think, is Steven Nickerson on the Honda. So another
Honda,
good showing from Nickerson, who has maybe the most distinctive-looking motorcycle in the series, and he has been fast at Grand Bend. Hasn't had a lot in terms of results. As we continue to go with the leaders, we're back on board with Zoke with that very distinctive-looking Kawasaki, and he is watching Riedman, who's really watching Young. And right now, it looks like Riedman's trying to figure out where Young's maybe a little soft, a tender spot he can try. And it's interesting to see Riedman and Young at our last 2 races were together non-stop, right? These guys have spent a lot of time together lately. And of course, with Zoke moving to Kawasaki, Young is now the BMW team leader. You can say there's some pressure, some expectation, because BMW has been the bike to beat for a long time.
Well, Benny getting the back end up in the air very sharply as well. If it hadn't been for Zoke's crash and his less than 100% state right now, I would say this is just like the old days. He's just going to follow them around and pop off a quick lap. But I don't know that that's going to happen on this day.
Well, previous years, right now you'd say Jordan's got this one handled. He's just waiting to see.
Exactly.
We don't know anymore because there's a lot of variables, and preseason testing hasn't been great.
Shot of
and
Tommy.
There we went on board, and we can see Kazas not that far behind our leaders and doing a good job with certainly a lot of pressure. And I think that's back. Jeff Williams was the onboard. And I think we got to mention Michael Leon, the Royal Distributing BMW. He's right there in 6th. So 2 sets of 3. And so far, it's impressive that the leaders haven't got that far clear of that good battle for 4th. And honestly, no one saw Thomas Kazaz being that guy right now.
No kidding. That was a very well executed pass that he made. So basically we have 2 races of 3 riders. If you watch here, here's our top 3 riders coming in, and there's the positions 4th through 6th.
And Leon has shuffled Williams back to 6th. So Leon is at the moment the guy on the move, but actually it looks like Thomas is maybe getting clear of those guys.
Even through Super Bowl, the talk was how long will he last in the race, and we're talking about Jeff Williams. Of course, he's not in tip-top shape. He's been very busy working and has not been working out.
Yes, he is a physically taller guy than pretty much any of the other front runners, and he's a little bit older. And of course, the level of fitness of these guys is remarkable these days as we watch, Ben Young, who's certainly very fit. And you know, it's always amazing watching Ben Young ride
Kenny's
from
on the
an
move.
onboard.
Reedman's on the move. He has pulled up alongside Braveheart. No, he hasn't, Braveheart. Look at this. He drifts in there with the wheels just sort of dancing off the surface of the asphalt coming into high-speed turn 11.
Yeah, you get
Good
a notion
stuff.
of braking and downshifting and sometimes auto blip or slipper clutches. There's a lot going on in terms of the electronics and the setup of these motorcycles. Ben Young has one of the best, well, actually has three of the best guys looking after that BMW, and they really know that bike well. The last race Ben Young did was actually in the States at a Moto America round where he had a particularly good ride on Sunday. So Ben Young's confidence is high, and what I was going to say, Frank, is, man, he is just a textbook rider. He never seems to make a mistake.
Reedman's on the move this time. He has shot before. No.
And I think
out on that one.
And I think Zoke is a little bit closer now too. So I don't know if Jordan's getting comfortable. He's getting more used to that B bike, which he's hardly ridden.
Exactly.
We know it doesn't have the horsepower of the bike that was badly damaged yesterday. But given everything that Zoke's been through, he's hanging in there and looking strong.
I've got worries about Michael Leon. That last shot that we just saw in turn number 9 showed Tommy Casas and showed Jeff Williams, and you know full well Michael Leon was a part of that deal last time we looked. Let's see if we can get another shot on that.
Ben Young through the S's. We're on board with Reedman's Kawasaki, and he is continuing to put the pressure on. Young, nice and smooth. You can see those transitions.
Yeah,
he does them so well. Yeah, so
There's only 2 riders there.
We're missing Michael Leon.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
And he had bad luck at the opener last year. He hurt his hand earlier this season, Moto America at Road Atlanta, and way overdue for some better opportunities, and has been running up front consistently for the last couple of seasons. So we're missing Daly. We're missing Leon. Trepanier, I believe, is in the running. Wow, I don't know if you caught that little bit of a sideways moment for Reedman. But Trepanier is also riding hurt on his B bike, and he had a bad one last year at the start of the year that really set his... Wow, look at how close Reedman was there.
Kenny is starting to get aggressive. He's been shopping seriously. He's got the card out and looking for the bargains.
Well, it's a long weekend, so I guess shopping's one of the things you can do for recreation.
So many places are closed tomorrow.
But these boys see their form of recreation seems particularly aggressive just at the moment.
No kidding. This is a great contest. Look at that. Both riders lifting the back wheel almost simultaneously going into Allen's corner. And I don't doubt we were on board with Zoke at that time, so I don't doubt he was doing the same thing.
Coming on to the front straight, Reedman continuing to look. Zoke maybe just a bit further back, and a little bit of an unusual situation where you could argue perhaps Jordan's a bit of an underdog just at the moment.
Oh, he is, for sure.
But you know, Young right now, so far, hasn't really had any kind of issue in terms of the challenge. You know, Reedman's shopping all over, but he's never really got up alongside Young, and Young seems to be able to deal with the pressure. We're almost halfway at this point, Frank, and it's a good race, and I think everybody was hoping the season would open with some things that maybe weren't expected, but Ben Young on a BMW was certainly one of the things that looked likely.
The People's Champion is a tough guy, you know, just thinking that, like a hockey player, you know, you send him off to the hospital, get him stitched up, and put him back on the ice.
Yeah, it was a rough day for our front runners because, you know, 2 of the 5 of them, you know, wound up needing some work, and the, you know, from the rider's point of view, and these guys are pretty tough. There you can see Williams is back on top of Casas, so that race is still going on, but they've now dropped far enough back we can barely see them, and we're on board with Reedman in turn 1. Young taking the slightly wider line, and now they go through that transition and head on to the pro track. Heading towards the west side of the circuit, and this is the big fast sweeper, which has been a happy hunting ground for passing over the years. On the entrance of this section we're at right now, as now we go on board with Zoke, and there's first, second, and the front wheel of third.
And the fans who are at the race, when they look at this footage, they'll realize because that area there through turns 3 and 4 on this layout are completely out of sight from the grandstand, so quite often you see a group of riders going in there and you have no idea what's going on in behind those trees when you're in the grandstands. It's cool.
Coming off the back straight, good shot from on board that Mopar Express Lane Kawasaki, not BMW, of Jordan Zoke. And now he's on top of Riedman. The battle for second now appears to be where the pressure point is.
Indeed, and Benny's starting to get a little bit of a comfort zone here. He's so smooth. It's just a pleasure watching him ride.
Waved yellow flag there. I'm not sure for
halfway.
what. And there we can see the halfway crossed flags as they head once again into turn one. And lots of pressure on Young. He's probably getting a pit board that's saying +0, right? They are right there.
Yep.
And I don't know if he would know for sure who it is. He'd probably guess it's Riedman.
My guess is that Ben Young's state of mind will be such that there's no way in the world that he's going to let anybody by without a fierce fight. He's going to be blocking as need be. Admittedly, it's still quite early in this race, and Riedman, as we have commented down, let's watch them down this back straightaway because they're coming up on Chris Fair on the number 270 bike, and I don't know whether they're going to be able to get cleanly past him before they get into turn number 11. It looks like I thought Ben Young had gotten past him already. Well, this could be interesting. Coming up in through the S's now with a lapped rider, and Young gets by. Whoa, that was close. Ben Young's got by. He's got the advantage here, Colin. That was a very key move. Now, I know Kenny got by as well, but there was time lost.
What I liked about that is Young is not maybe as aggressive as the other two, but he was aggressive in traffic there, and the guys behind would see that that's what he's willing to do, right? That he is that committed, that he is not going to lose track position because of bad timing with lappers. So good work by Young. A little brave, and Riedman got lucky. He didn't take much longer, so it really hasn't changed anything. But when the race is this close and everybody's looking for a pass, but they can't make one, those lappers become so important because a few tenths could be the whole shebang.
Absolutely, and obviously Zoke got through there okay. I just wanted to pass on some kudos to Jeff Williams for being able to stay with Tommy Cassis. I know he's got a lot more experience on a Superbike, but he's also fighting. Here goes Zoke up in the second spot. He's on cork one down the Fabi straightaway, and the People's Champion has moved into second behind Young. Now he sets off in pursuit. Look at it.
There you can see, Riedman is where you should be. He's on the line, and Zoke decides that he's comfortable. And, when Jordan Zoke, here you can see him going inside Riedman on the brakes, coming off the back straight. That's a guy who's getting the hang of that bike, right? This is the first time he's raced that bike. In fact, that's the backup bike, and he has the confidence. That's Kawasaki versus Kawasaki off the back straight. And now Zoke, I guess, will have a look at Ben Young and see if he thinks he has something to offer our leader. And of course, for the longest time, the guy to beat on a BMW wasn't Ben Young.
Quite so.
It was Jordan Zoke, and now Riedman looks like he's coming right back. But if you told us yesterday Jordan Zoke would be in second battling for the lead today, I don't think anyone would have bought that.
Well, Zoke coming into this race basically in the underdog position. Sometimes it's kind of hard to cheer for Jordan. He's been so dominant in our series, but now you see him truly at his best.
Look at him work the slipstream there on Young. His demeanor has changed, right? Before he was settled in third and just riding, watching, and learning. And now we are on board with Jordan and maybe blood in the water.
I got a sneaking suspicion Zoke is showing some very, very aggressive moves here. Going through the final turn onto the front straightaway. I can't help but wonder when he's going to make his move and take the race lead. This is so exciting to watch the People's Champion coming back from that injury. Tough as a $2 steak, I think was the expression they used. And he has really rebounded from that injury, riding an underpowered motorcycle. What a great, great story this is.
On board with Riedman there on the Sturgis Kawasaki. He had a look there, but the weird thing is when you see Jordan Zoke riding a Kawasaki at Shannonville, there's some heavy deja vu. Because boy, did he win a lot of races on Kawasaki Superbikes. A decade ago, he was almost unbeatable on the ZX-10 Ninjas. And there you can see on board from Riedman's Kawasaki Ninja.
Look at that, precise, eh? There's no way in the world now he's pulled out, and I guess he was just having a look there, but initially in the run down the Fabi straight, you could see him react to the minute changes that Ben Young was making.
And I think we've got a comment, if you can see, just ahead of Young, we got two riders fairly close together, so this will be the next challenge which could present, and Jordan is right on top of Young
look
now.
at this, looks to the inside. Oh, trouble for Ben Young. We're coming up on traffic, and Zoke is an absolute master Has he moved to the in? Oh man, that was close. He had the inside line there. Ben Young just took it away from him.
We got to thank Kenny Reedman. Boy, did he ever show us what it's like to be in the race for the lead in a Superbike event. Everybody's trying to do the math, and they're thinking about the traffic. They're looking for a pass, and they're thinking, if there's a bobble, I want to be on top of that guy and pick him off. And I gotta keep saying, Ben Young has not been challenged yet. He's had a lot of
Reedman to the inside of Zook. Nicely done. That was a little surgical, didn't you think?
That was an opportunistic pass. Look at this, and Zook is trying for the classic line. He's thinking about the draft and pass, and Reedman just gets in there, and you know, that's going to be the kind of thing that's going to likely win this race, right? And also that Reedman is comfortable doing that with Jordan Zook is a very good sign.
Yeah, very good sign indeed. He did that with great confidence and purpose in mind. Now we're on board with Kenny Reedman once more, the speed man following the Braveheart on the BMW.
And it's good that, you know, unlike racing cars, Ben Young does not have a rearview mirror, so he's not aware of the variety of things going on behind him. And I think it's fun when we're on board with a third place guy who's trying to figure out the look-see on the lines when the guys in front of him are busy trying everything.
Are the pit boards reading 0, Colin, on this?
Oh yeah, but of course only one guy needs his pit board. That's Ben Young, right? Everybody else knows exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think behind there, if you look, well, you can just barely see it. Kazaz still has Jeff Williams glued to his tail in the race for fourth.
That's off to Williams. Good for him.
Yeah, popular guy jamming Jeff Williams, and you know, has had just a remarkable career. And yesterday almost won the Super Pole.
Yeah. And some great legendary stories from the racetracks in days gone by. Rode for a couple of teams, rode for Honda Canada, and he rode for the Diablo team. In fact, I think he still owes CSBK a checkered flag. When he won at Shubenacadie, they gave him the checkered flag, and he never gave it back.
Yeah, I think we're okay with that. There have been various mix-up over the years, and there you can see the stationary blue flag warning you about you're going to get lapped, right? That you've got the leaders on your tail, so be smooth, hold your line, and be aware that some fast guys are coming.
Yeah, and so far, when they have come up, Chris Fair was the first rider they came up on, and then they came up on another rider, and I'm searching for his name just now, but those riders have done exactly that. They've held position. And right now, Ben Young is coming up on Vincent Lavillon, very identifiable rider on the Kawasaki, and that has given Reedman a chance to close up again. Now, Reedman is not able to stay, it seems, with Ben Young down the straightaway, nor is he staying in his wheel tracks the way Jordan Zook was doing when he was giving chase.
I think the bikes are pretty even on the backstretch. It would seem Young has just a little bit more in the upper gears, and that, you know, so many little things can do that.
Whoa.
But what I need to mention is, of course, at this point in the race, how you've used your tires and how you've respected them is going to be an issue, and I think the pace has been pretty hot. So, you know, how comfortable you are to take that last little bit left out of our Dunlop slicks is the next challenge we're facing.
Well, having talked to Sandy Noche about the wear on the new super soft compound, especially the new profile on the rear tire for the Dunlop slick, rather, he was telling me that they ran 38 laps on them at race speeds and what have you, and they were very pleased. Obviously, the tire was well worn, but that would give indication that we should certainly be able to run a 22, 24 lap race without any difficulties.
Yeah, it has been relatively cool. Even today it's not really hot, but much warmer and more sun on the track than we're used to. So a little bit of doubt about our new tires, right, when we don't know a lot about them. And of course, next stop is Grand Bend, which has tended to be a bit of a lottery for the tire deal with a lot of unknowns.
Far be it for me to criticize, but that last run down the straightaway, Reedman was not trying at all to get into that soft air in behind
right now, though, he's
Young.
right on top of Young. Like,
True
this
enough.
is as close as the three of them have been.
On the front straight, still no pass. Young right on.
Back on board, and we're watching from Reedman, and Young's changing things up, trying to figure out how he's going to get by the next lapper, and that got Reedman right up beside Young, and I think that might be Demaray. Is that?
No, that's Nicolas Mounier.
Okay, so another one of our top young guys.
Indeed,
they're lapping pretty far up the field at this point.
Mounier, of course, is on a 600cc motorcycle. The ZX6R is what his choice of weaponry, and these guys, of course, are on the 200 horsepower.
And this is his first ever pro Superbike race, so he has never been on the track with these guys until just then.
Yeah. Speaking of horsepower, these things on the dyno after the Super Bowl, from my understanding from Brooklyn Cycle Racing, was that they were putting a 195, 196 horsepower.
Yeah, some of the highest numbers in a long, long time, and that's right across the classes, and it's just increased competition. It's shaping up to be a strong season. You know, we're always optimistic early on, but the early indicators are really good, and most of these motorcycles you're looking at are well over 190 horsepower, and the limit is 200. 2 laps to go, and we're watching Ben Young taking those classic wide lines, and Riedman, I don't think it's so much his lines are different as he's just trying to reverse the math, hoping that there's a little gap or a mistake. But the thing about Ben Young is he doesn't make mistakes.
No, he is absolutely faultless. I was going to say that the only time he's been in any jeopardy at all, it didn't last very long.
No,
so
and even places
faultless.
like St. Eustache, where it's really hard to ride consistently, Ben Young has been quite impressive in here. Riedman's right on his tail again.
True enough, but Zoke is there as well. I'll tell you, if we had allowed betting on this, I'd be putting some money on Zoke for this one.
I don't know. You know, Ben Young's been just slightly faster, seems to have the measure of everybody this season at our opener, and I would say it's a Mladen-like performance. You know, just always just slightly faster.
I wouldn't be taking any chickens to the ranch just yet. Too many times I've seen Zoke on Cork, the miracles, you know. I've seen it and you've seen it more than I have over the years. Last lap, flag is out. This is it. One more circulation of the pro track here at Shannonville Motorsport Park, and this one goes in the books.
Another good look from Riedman's Kawasaki at the BMW of our race-long leader, Ben Young. He has about 7 turns to make this work, and Riedman looking on the inside, but nowhere near the speed. Ben Young taking those wide classic lines. Now we're on board with Jordan Zoke, and he's hoping that something opens up and he can maybe get his 71st career win.
Look out around the outside of Riedman now. Nope, not yet anyways. Last run down that Fabi straightaway. There again, Riedman not taking advantage of trying to get the draft in behind Young. I don't quite understand his approach, but Jordan Zoke's approach is obvious. He has in mind to make a pass, and he's going to have to do it very quickly if he's going to pull this one off.
Young came really deep off the back straight, and that may turn out to be the crucial moment because Young has an edge now.
That's about the biggest lead he's enjoyed all race. Kenny Riedman has been right there all race, and look at this. Ben Young has just classically grabbed a handful of horsepower and pulled away a wheelie across the finish line, and Ben Young has scored his 2nd national championship win, and this weekend, Colin, he has taken all points possible. What a great weekend for Braveheart.
That's pretty much a perfect performance, and they are very hard to come by. Really, Jordan Zoke's the guy who typically does those, and this is the first time in 7 years that Jordan Zoke hasn't won the opener, and he is not the points leader, and there you can see the 3 of them celebrating, and it's discouraging not to win. You feel bad for Riedman and Zoke, but man, what a great race and what great pace. And from what I understand, the fastest lap of the race was the last.
That's exactly the way they should do it.
So that was Young's fastest lap of his race was the last. The fastest lap of the race was Jordan Zoke mid-race.
Oh, really? There you go.
And I think we've got to mention not only Kazis doing as well as he did into 4th, but Trepanier, who is not in great shape and isn't on a great bike. This is definitely his parts bike, and he worked his way up to 5th, and that may turn out to be important because things will definitely get better as the season progresses.
No question. Gives him something to build on.
I just wanted to play it smart out there today. I wasn't even sure if I was going to be able to ride, and I'm not a big pill guy. I just kind of fight through the pain that the doctors laughed a little at me yesterday. You know, they had to pull my skin back around my muscle and sew it together, and I got separated collarbone a little bit from my sternum, and my back's all messed up, and all my fingernails were bleeding. They're still bleeding right now, and I got big blisters that we've been poking all day on my hands from being burned on the pavement. So I'm hurt. Yeah, I just kind of rode my own race, and I was just kind of stalking Ben, trying to figure out where he was strong and where he had any weak spots. And unfortunately, he only had about 1 or 2 weak spots, and neither of them were good passing opportunities. So, you know, I was planning on waiting till the last lap and throwing the move in on him in the hairpin, but when we got that last lap play, he really put his head down. I'm pretty sure the last lap of the race was Ben's fastest lap. So, you know, I was kind of banking on him continuing the same pace that he rode all race, and he pulled something out of his ass for that last lap. I couldn't hang, but, you know, hats off to Ben.
Oh, it was great. I'm feeling great. You know, get away in what we did. And the whole time I seen my pit board was that there was 3 of us in a group. And then I also could see Matt put out Jordan's with +3. So I figured, okay, Jordan's the guy that's at the back of the 3 of us, and it must be Kenny in between us, because I knew the boys were all going fast all weekend. But when it came down to it, it was really a race to separate us up, and so we pushed hard, and we're going to keep this one rolling into a track that always kind of go well at, and celebrate my birthday in a bit of style this year. So yeah, hats off to all my guys.
And thus completes round 1 of the 2019 Mopar Canadian National Superbike Championships, presented by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. Brought to you in part by Mopar Express Lane, Dunlop, and Liqui-Moly. We'll be looking forward to bringing you round 2 of the 2019 Mopar Canadian Superbike Championships from Grand Bend, Ontario,